Welcome back, Patriots, to a special breaking news episode of the Bald Brad Show. Patriots, I see you all in the chat. Just wondering how the heck you're all doing on this fine Sunday morning. Look, we've been talking about this happening for a while and think this is why a lot of you tune into the Bald Brad Show, because we give you the latest and greatest. You're always a week at least ahead of the news cycle. We were announcing this a long time ago. And heck, let me see when I can see that we first announced the fact that Joe Biden is in fact going to be out. So I don't have any of this really planned. I haven't looked at any of the news, folks. If you haven't heard, the breaking news is Joe Biden has officially dropped out of the presidential race. We said this was going to happen in this week's episode, or heck, 2 weeks ago at the very least. Everything is so tiny on my screen for some reason here. Well, we'll find out a little bit later, folks. A little bit of a stream that I wasn't expecting to do today, per se. We had news earlier on, a while ago, that Joe Biden was going to drop out of the race, that Joe Biden is out. And people are saying, no way, that he's not going to be out. And we're like, that's not what our sources are telling us. I see y'all in here. We got a lot of people joining us already. We got Pat in here. We got Lulu. We got David. We got Quinn. Danielle, Jerry, Kimbo, Jay, Samuel, JWE, I see Jeff's in here, Greg's. We got a lot of people. As Trump would say, we got a lot of patriots. Well, folks, as I mentioned, we got breaking news here, and just might break the internet, that Joe Biden is dropping out of the race. My internet won't even keep up. So let me see if I can find the actual thing here for you. Here it is from Joseph R. Biden himself. Here's the receipts. You know how we bring you the receipts. Joseph R. Biden. Again, folks, I haven't done any research on this. Just saw the headlines, the breaking news everywhere. So we're going to experience this together here as a group of patriots. Let me go ahead and fix something really quick. I want to make sure this is up and running for myself. I want to make sure that I can read the chat clearly, so I don't want to blow your eardrums out. And there we go. All right. So it says, my fellow Americans, over the past 3 years, I have pretended to be senile. Just kidding. That's not what it says. Over the past 3.5 years, we have made great progress as a nation. He couldn't help himself. Right out of the gate, the dude's lying. He couldn't help himself. Today, America has the strongest economy in the world. There is truth to that part. We've made the historic investments in rebuilding our nation. That's really driven us into the ground. In lowering prescription drug costs for seniors. You guys, one of the lower costs that he's talking about here, one of a few, is your inhalers are now cheaper. That was really it. So what they do is they just make it seem like all these drug costs went down. It's only for seniors, which is a good thing. But you're talking about inhaler prices and it's, these all these little other things. It's good. But how about getting those drug costs down for, everybody? And in expanding affordable health care to a record number of Americans, including illegal immigrants. It's so funny how he kind of just, again, lumps Americans in with non-Americans, non-citizens, typical Democrat Party. We provided critically needed care to 1 million veterans exposed to toxic substances, which is good. Passed the first gun safety law in 30 years, which is just a fancy way of them saying that they're chiseling away at your Second Amendment rights. Appointed the first African-American woman to the Supreme Court, DEI hire. Look what that's gotten him. The mouthpiece of the leader of the free world, Karine Jean-Pierre's a DEI hire. Those police or Secret Service, we don't really know who they were during Donald Trump's assassination attempt, were DEI hires. I mean, the one that couldn't holster her weapon, it has really nothing to do with the fact that she's a woman. It has everything to do with the characteristics that embody that person in a whole, like the lack of behavior in terms of the awareness that was going on, the lack of knowing how to even holster your own firearm. It makes you wonder how many times she's taken it out and shot it and reholstered it. The fact that this is the big one, not only that her height was way shorter than Donald Trump, but also the fact that she wasn't fit. I hate to say it. The lady was so out of shape, it's head spinning. Let's continue. Has passed the most significant climate legislation in the history, which again means that we're going to sit there and chisel away at your liberties and your freedoms. To enact certain significant climate legislation, what you do when you enact certain legislation is that you remove people's liberties. And that's a question that somebody should always ask themselves before they implement a law, legislation, policy is, what is this going to do to the Republic's freedoms and liberties before I actually implement this said legislation and policy? America has never been better positioned to lead than we are today. Folks, there's wars happening all around the world. We're $35 trillion in debt. We have an invasion happening near our southern border. I don't know what leading you're talking about here, Joey. I know none of this could have been done without you, the American people. Together, we overcame a once-in-a-century pandemic and the worst economic crisis since the Great Depression. We protected and preserved our democracy. We'll get into that because I don't know if we're actually in the Democrat side of the aisle preserving democracy when, dude, you are the nominee of the Democrat Party. I understand the DNC hasn't happened. It's not technically official and all these other things, but it is. And we revitalize and strengthen our alliances around the world. Does anybody, the alliances, you know, you sat there and actually negotiated on behalf of Israel without the Israelis ever knowing. You guys remember that deal? When Joe Biden made a deal with Hamas, a terrorist organization, and Israel's like, what deal? Like, the Biden administration comes out and goes, Israel accepted the deal. There's going to be a ceasefire. Hoorah. And Israel's like, what are you talking about? There is no deal. We were never involved in it. Yeah. No, you're really strengthening our allies around the world, man. It's been the greatest honor of my life to serve as your president. And while it has been my intention to seek re-election, I believe it is in the best interest of my party and the country for me to step down. Why? Why would you need to stand down? He just got done laying out it's the best. We have the best economy that's ever existed. Look at all these positives he led with in the first two paragraphs. And all of a sudden like, well, you know, I guess I'm not the best person for my party. Okay. And while it has been my intention to seek re-election, I believe it is the best interest of my party and the country for me to stand down and to focus solely on fulfilling my duties as president for the remainder of my term. I will speak to the nation later this week in more detail about my decision. And we'll see Joey fumbling through his words. Maybe they'll stop giving him the medication. For now, let me express my deepest gratitude to all those who have worked so hard to see me reelected. I want to thank Vice President Kamala Harris for being an extraordinary partner in all this work. And let me express my heartfelt appreciation to the American people for the faith and trust you have placed in me. I believe today that I will always have that there is nothing America can't do. And we do it together. We have to remember we are the United States of America. And then a little scribbly Joe Biden signature there. What do you patriots think about this? This is crazy, is it not? I mean, Elon Musk said it perfectly here. I heard last week that he would resign at this exact time and date. That's exactly what we said, was it not? I mean, we had a whole show. Biden dropped out. Biden's going to give up, whatever the title was. It was widespread knowledge in DC, the real powers that are discarding the old puppet in favor of one that has better chance of fooling the public. They fear Trump because he is not a puppet. That is spot on. Elon Musk is spot on. So let's see. Kamala will pick Shapiro or Whitmer. Look at you guys going crazy in the chat. I love to see it. Steve McDonald says it's going to be Gavin Newsom. It very well could be. We don't have much, but what's, I guess, going to happen here is the DNC is going to have basically chauffeuring out a bunch of people. So you know it's going to be Kamala Harris, and we're hearing there's going to be about 2 or 3 more front runners. Gavin Newsom very well could be a part of that. Rumors are Hillary Clinton's coming out, but this is crazy. This is crazy to see all the laws and regulations. We'll see if the GOP or RNC comes out and files a lawsuit. Vivek Ramaswamy says, we're not running against a candidate. We're running against the system. I think he's putting that spot on right there. Again, that's from Vivek. That is a quick take from Vivek there. Quick take from Vivek. We know for a fact it won't be Michelle Obama. That's for sure. She don't like politics. It's definitely not going to be Michelle. Again, if you're just tuning in, folks, Joe Biden has officially, it's confirmed with the man's own signature that he's not going to seek re-election. Now, here's the thing. Here's the thing the Democrat and the media will not get away with, and that's why you want to subscribe to this channel, because we ain't going to let them get away with it. The fact that they spent 3.5 years telling us that Joey was fit to hold office. He's sharp. He's better than Trump. There's nobody better than Joe Biden to seek re-election. 90 minutes with Trump. Trump just punches through Joe Biden's corpse and right through the Democrat Party. All of a sudden, in a span of 90 minutes, it was actually less than 90 minutes. It was really the first 20 that they started talking about this. In 20 minutes, Donald Trump shattered the entire apparatus of the Democrat Party, and no longer in 20 minutes was Joe Biden capable of running the country anymore. Think about that flip of an entire media, the deep state, the DNC, the Democrat Party, the Biden, everybody flipped on Joe Biden in 20 minutes. It shows you how non-sincere, if that's even a word, the Democrat Party is. The fact that they lied to you and they can't get out of it. That's the problem. Who are they going to put forward that sat there and said that this guy was sharp on tape? Kamala Harris. Dude's vice president never came out and said that he wasn't sharp. She's the one that played into this whole lie. Gavin Newsom, who we said in the live chat might be up there as well, he played in the lie as well. He was backing the guy. So who's going to sit there and get out of this whole shenanigans? The media can't sit there and do it because we won't let them. They'll try, don't get me wrong, the whole system. And we said this was going to happen. I hate to say like one of those I told you so, but didn't we say together as a community that this was exactly what was going to happen? That they're going to slowly shift and they're going to get behind either Joe Biden or whoever's going to be the candidate. And if it's not Joe Biden, we don't know who the candidate's going to be. So let's go to Jackie Heinrich of Fox News really quick and see what she has to say here. Biden endorses Harris. So that is as of 11 minutes ago, folks. Joe Biden has endorsed Harris. Now, that's a big deal because there was rumors swirling last week when we all speculated, because there was people coming out leaking this, that Joe Biden was going to sit there and drop out Sunday. And gee, what day is it, folks? It's Sunday. So everybody knew all the while up until last night, the Biden campaign was like, no, he's still running for re-election. Joe Biden himself was saying that he's not dropping out, that he's getting a minute to win it. This is wild. It goes to show you just how much these people lie. It's disgusting. It really is disgusting. You're seeing a party that, in my opinion, man, just has never had it together. Again, they're the party of the Klan. They're the party of slavery. They're the party of anti-civil rights. I mean, this party has always been this. This shouldn't be a shock. I see y'all in there. What's going on, Snarf? Philip. Sorry, Hunter Biden McDonald's is hiring. Oh, Lordy, Philip. Let's see what the Patriots are doing over at Rumble. Deplorable me, I see in there. Jerry, what's going on? Hola, amigos. Wild stuff. Throw your opinions. JC for life, gaslighting the American people. Absolutely. Oh, absolutely. Biden throws support behind VP Harris to lead Democrats against Trump. Now, again, I think the DNC is going to sit there and have a runoff between her and a couple other people. And what's fascinating is it seems as if the Trump administration also had information that this was going to happen, because they were trying to figure out, well, what's it going to be like between Harris and JD Vance doing a debate against one another. I'm still blown away with the fact that the presidential nominee for the Democrat Party, even though it wasn't technically official because the DNC hasn't happened yet, they just did a debate like 4 weeks ago between Joe Biden and Donald Trump, and now Donald Trump's having to take on a whole different candidate. Brad, do you think Trump can beat Gruesome Newsom? Oh, man. Well, I don't know, because I don't know the polling of how Gavin would necessarily do against Donald Trump. And people will go, well, there's polls out there that say how he's going to do. But here's the thing. The people that might have voted for Gavin in that poll maybe already had elected to vote for Joe Biden in that poll because he was at least on the ticket. So we have to see some new polls here to see how exactly this would happen. We know Kamala Harris would poll better than Gavin Newsom because they've already ran it behind the scenes. And that was the conversation, not just with Chuck Schumer and Joe Biden, but specifically Nancy Pelosi and Joe Biden had a meeting behind closed doors. Joe Biden initially did not think the polls were real. And so Nancy Pelosi had to actually call in somebody to go over the information with them. And at that point in time, I think Joe Biden realized things were going south for him. Now, Gavin Newsom is a slimy SOB, man. Joe Biden was definitely what we wanted to have as a candidate to run up against. But I don't know if Donald Trump could beat Gavin. I don't know. Gavin is a politician. He's slimy. He's a liar. He's a manipulator. So I don't know. Doesn't matter, though. They're both from California, right? Kamala Harris is from California. Gavin Newsom's from California. And look where California is at. So, I mean, it doesn't matter. Kamala Harris's track record is going to be held to Joe Biden's track record. So she's screwed. Gavin Newsom has driven this state into the ground. Look at the homeless issue that we have here, the crisis, the illegal immigration crisis we have here. We have a healthcare crisis. I mean, this state, you guys, I mean, I live here. I've lived here my entire life. It has been an astonishing thing to see it from when I was born 35 years ago till now, how much California has changed. It is, yeah, it's bad. Scary times, exactly. I personally think anyone can be better than Biden and Harris. I think it's going to be Harris. It's pretty tough to push somebody in front of the vice president, so we'll have to see. I see y'all in the chat, though. It's good to see you, folks. Get the button away from Joe. Yeah. This is crazy, man. I don't know if we'll ever see something like this in our lifetime. So let's kind of go through the people that I'm following here. Let's see if it loads. We have Speaker Mike Johnson says, at this unprecedented juncture in American history, we must be clear about what just happened. The Democrat Party forced the Democrat nominee off the ballot just over 100 days before election. I haven't looked this up. You're getting a real-time reaction from me. I don't know if something like this has happened where a party has removed their nominee this close, having invalidated the votes of more than 14 million Americans who has selected Joe Biden to be the Democrat nominee for president. That's where I was going into the aspect of, we'll get to the democracy point later, but we might as well get into it now. Folks, the self-proclaimed party of democracy has proven exactly the opposite. People have already chosen this dude. He has delegates attached to him. And the party, just like they did to Bernie, has decided, nope, it's not going to be you. Why not? Why not? He's not all of it. It's, again, I know I'm repeating myself. It's really wild how in the span of just 20 minutes, they determined this guy was not fit to hold office, all the while telling us for 3.5+ years, this guy was fit. He's sharp. This is the greatest. I've said it. We did the title of the show. This is the greatest cover-up in American history. There's nothing more. This kicks the shit out of FDR's polio diagnosis. You know what I mean? Where he sat there and hid it for a while. And the media were complacent in it, and maybe rightfully so, because they didn't want to show our commander-in-chief being weak. But that was a little bit different times where you only had radio. You didn't really so much have video, and you had photography and stuff like that. But you understand what I mean. It's a lot harder to hide things nowadays. And Joe Biden looked weak on the onset. We're sitting there in the 2020 campaign, fumbling through his words, fighting his teleprompter, looking for people in the crowd that weren't there. You know, it's been going on for quite some time. Johnson goes on to say, having invalidated those votes, correct, the party's prospects are no better now with Vice President Kamala Harris, who co-owns the disastrous policy failures of the Biden administration. That's exactly what we echoed in real time as we went through a reactionary POV, basically, from my point of view, the Biden letter that was sent out acknowledging the fact that he is going to step down, that she's attached to all these disastrous policies. So basically, it's still going up against Biden, except Kamala Harris is a lot more savvy than Joe Biden. Folks, please don't play down the idea that she does all these word salads, right? Well, the sunset on the moon has the refractor of life. And when you look at the refractor of life, the moon that has a sunset is something we can all view because the sunset is a holistic apparatus that shines its light on the life of the moon. Like, she never talked like that before. When she was working for the state of California, she was very sharp in her words. She was very clear and coherent. This is not a dumb lady. She was playing it off like she's dumb, probably because she couldn't sit there and overshadow Joe Biden. So be careful here. She's going to sit there and she's going to look way different now. Trust. I'm calling it right now. Clip it. She's going to be way different in the coming weeks. As second in command and a completely inept border czar, correct, Harris has been a gleeful compliance, not only in the destruction of American sovereignty, security, and prosperity, but also in the latest political cover-up in the U.S. history. Johnson sees it. Everybody sees it. Folks, if she couldn't fix the border and only exacerbated the problem, how could the Democrats put their faith in somebody that has only exacerbated problems, not just on a state level, but now on a federal level? She has known for as long as anyone of his incapacity to serve. How is she going to get away from that talking point? That's all Donald Trump needs to do. Why'd you lie to the American people? Why'd you tell the American people he was sharp? Why did you get behind a candidate that wasn't fit to serve in the first place? Case in point, you're dropping him 100 days before. Folks, wild stuff. Regardless of the chaos in the current White House, our adversaries around the globe should be reminded that the U.S. Congress, the U.S. military, and the people are fully prepared and committed to defend our interests both at home and abroad. That is a great take and shows leadership from Mike Johnson, because we've never looked more weak and more separated and divided as a country right now. Not only divided on party lines, but even you have a party that is fractured that just deleted or removed a candidate of the Democrat Party seeking re-election that already had 14 million votes and a bunch of delegates attached to him. I don't know the legality on this. We looked at the state of Wisconsin. From what we heard from Wisconsin, the only way you can get off the ticket in Wisconsin is by death. But he's not, I don't wish this upon him. He's not dead. He's just not seeking re-election. He's bowing out. Regardless of the chaos in the White House. Yeah. We already read that. So if Joe Biden is not fit to run for president, he's not fit to serve as president. Correct. If he's not fit to seek re-election, that's why people are saying there's only one route you can actually do here, and that is the 25th Amendment. And so the question would be, is he actually going to fulfill his duties, or is he going to drop out and have Kamala Harris step up? I don't know. He must resign the office immediately. November 5th cannot arrive soon enough. Correct from Mike Johnson, folks. We had a lot of news to bring you. We got NBC here. Kamala has been quietly getting ready to assume the role of the Democratic nominee for the last few weeks, you guys. This is how long they were pushing this lie. This is coming from NBC News. Here we go.
Of course, this is huge news, but this is news that the vice president was preparing for. Now, of course, as your vice president, she is someone who had always been ready to take the job as president. But in the last few weeks, sources had told me that she was doing a really sort of distinct balancing act. She was both publicly and privately supporting President Biden while also quietly getting ready herself if she had to be the top of the ticket, which, of course, now with the president endorsing her, of course, her team is going to be hoping that she becomes the top of the ticket. Well, of course, this is huge news, but
weeks allegedly, which implies that behind the scenes there was a conversation that Joe Biden was in fact going to drop out, or why waste your time doing all these campaigns? I mean, most recently we know that she had an emergency phone meeting with donors to get behind her. We also heard rumors in the past 24 to 48 hours that even the Clintons were urging donors to stay behind Joe Biden. So a lot of I'm guessing it's misinformation being thrown out there from people. And I would go as far to say clearly disinformation from the Biden campaign as well as the Democrat Party. Let this sink in. We were lectured for years about misinformation, disinformation coming from conservatives and Republicans. How about the misinformation and disinformation, mostly disinformation, which if you don't know the difference between the two, misinformation is when you unknowingly produce some sort of information that was ultimately false. And we might as well talk about that right now because I put out misinformation, and let's see if I can clean that up for all of you right now. We were actually going to do this tomorrow, but heck, we're live. We might as well do it here. So I put out this video, and we also put it out in our live, and I removed it from my Twitter because it's not right, and I should have caught this. It's my fault. We showed this clip here of Donald Trump getting shot in the ear. Now, this is not real because he got shot in the other ear. This is showing the side that was to the camera, so it wasn't correct. And as I think, I would rather make sure that I correct when I'm wrong and fix it. And so for everybody that saw that video, that was incorrect. It was the mirror side. I should have done more due diligence on my side, making sure that it was correct. It got by me. And one, I want to apologize to all my listeners for that. Very rarely do I apologize because very rarely am I wrong. No, I'm kidding. I'm joking. That was narcissistic. But you understand what I mean. That was fake news. So that was an example of misinformation. I showed you guys something that I thought was real, turned out not to be real, but I didn't know that it wasn't real, okay? Because I was an idiot. Disinformation is if I would have showed you that clip, knowing that it was fake, knowing that it wasn't correct, and giving you an entire narrative about it, even though, again, I knew it wasn't real. So that would be disinformation. I bring that up because the Democrat Party is the ones that sat there for 3.5 years and knew Joe Biden wasn't sharp. Case in point, why they wanted to drop him out of the freaking race. For 3.5 years, told us he was sharp, he was mentally fit, there's nothing wrong with the guy. He's the best thing that's ever happened in the Democrat Party, yada, yada, yada. So they've been pushing disinformation while lecturing us on all these other things. Truly, truly a wild thing. So you have looks like he dropped that out. We'll come back to that. You have Donald Trump Jr. also speaking up. Kamala Harris owns the entire left-wing policy record of Joe Biden. The only difference is that she's even more liberal and less competent than Joe, which there is some truth to that. She is left of Joe for sure, which is really saying something. She was put in charge of the border, and we saw the worst invasion of illegals in our history. I would love somebody to bring up the old Kamala Harris cookies. Can I see if I can even find that? I used to talk to you guys about this way back in the day when she was put in place of the border, and she actually flew over the border. Here, oh, yes, it is. Should we have it? Oh, yes, this is why. I'm quick, folks. We're quick here. So this is real. I told you guys this was real. Very rarely do I bring the receipts after something we talked about in the past. She flew over the border, and she passed out these cookies with her face on it. You all thought I was joking probably for the longest time. Here's the receipts. That cookie on the left, that's what she passed out. Isn't that wild? So she flies over the border to like El Salvador, Honduras, and she comes back. Well, the problem was global warming. That's why they're all coming here. So this is the lady that Democrats are going to put up. There could be other people. I can't even show that one. Oh my God, I almost got deplatformed. Margie Taylor Greene says Kamala Harris will be easier to beat than Joe by far. I don't know if that's true. We'll have to see because, again, the Democrats did their polling, you guys, before. Remember, it is kind of frustrating how some people just say some things, but they don't really think about maybe necessarily what they're saying. The Democrat Party owns the deep state. The FBI is the Democrat Party. The CIA is the Democrat Party. The Democrat Party owns basically all the institutions, from the media to the education system to the intelligence apparatus. Like, they are deep, especially when you're talking about the Clintons and the Bidens who've been in government their entire life. So this whole idea that Margie Taylor Greene, I do like her, Kamala Harris will be easier to beat than Joe by far. These people did some serious polling and investigative work before they would sit there and have Joe Biden drop out. So this is some breaking news. Again, if you're just joining us, we got a lot of patriots with us. Breaking news that Joe Biden has dropped out of the race. Joe Biden is done. Some of you might be saying, bye, Felicia. And you wouldn't be wrong in doing that, folks. You wouldn't be wrong in doing that. Hopefully you had your coffee today. If you're guessing what I'm drinking, we're drinking some cold coffee. And you know how we love our sponsor here of the show, 1775 Coffee, folks. Say goodbye to that freaking $5, also known as Starbucks. Stuff is expensive. It's cheaper to brew your own coffee. Well, say hello, as you know, to a favorite of the channel, 1775 Coffee. That's through Rumble. Unlike other brands, this is a coffee that backs free speech, as you could see. Screw your free speech and your freedom of expression. The Democrat Party isn't even going to sit there and utilize the guy that 14 million people voted for that has delegates attached to him. They don't care one bleep about democracy. You know who cares about free speech and democracy? 1775 Coffee, and it's unapologetic about it, folks. Visit 1775coffee.com. Some of you do use it and drink it. You say, it's so good. It keeps us fired up here, baby. We do a morning show at 7 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. You're damn right. We got to drink something that's going to wake us up a little bit here. And you might as well get that 40% off now, because in like 2 weeks, we're going to 6 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. We're beating all the major outlets, folks, and getting your news out there. We'll get you warmed up before maybe you head over to Dan Bongino. We'll get you warmed up before you head over to Steven Crowder. We'll get you warmed up before you head over to the Daily Wire. This is the place you want to be. Use promo code STUDIO40 to get 40% off any coffee subscription. Holy lordy, they're giving this stuff away. The coffee comes in medium and dark roast. I preferably like the dark roast. That's how you get this beard of justice right here. It's similar to like Kona coffee. In other words, this stuff is freaking premium, folks. You got to want to get it. Drink it out of a Ball Bradshaw mug. Click the link in the description, folks, or in the live chat if you're over at Rumble. You can also go directly just to 1775coffee.com and use promo code STUDIO40 to get 40% off today, folks. Take care of yourself and drink the good stuff. Well, here's the nominee, and some of you were talking about this. Here's the nominee, potentially, of the Democrat Party.
You can imagine what can be and be unburdened by what has been, you know?
What can be unburdened by what has been.
What can be unburdened by what has been.
What can be unburdened
unburdened by what has been. What can be. Unburdened by what has been.
What we can see, what we believe can be, unburdened by what has been.
What can be. Unburdened by what has been. What can be. Unburdened by what has been. What can be. Unburdened by what has been.
What can be, unburdened by what has been.
Who we can be. Unburdened by who we have been. What can be. Unburdened by what has been.
Okay,
Where
I
we
can't
can
sit,
be.
I can't sit through. I mean, folks, it's a 4-minute video. No way in hell. I'm not going to sit there and subject myself to it. And you're damn right. I'm not going to accept and push that kind of stuff upon my people. So you have this from the GOP. This is Donald Trump. Let's make sure I get that on the screen for y'all. Crooked Joe Biden was not fit to run for president and is certainly by no means fit to serve and never was, despicable Democrats. He only attained the position of president by lies, fake news media, and not leaving his basement. No, he never left his basement. No, he never left his basement. Those people back there wanted you to believe he did. No. All those around him, including his doctor and media, knew he wasn't capable of being president, and he wasn't. And now, look at what he's done to our country with millions of people pouring across our border, totally unchecked, unvetted, many from prison, mental institutions, and record numbers of terrorists. We will suffer greatly because of his presidency, but we will remedy the damage he has done very quickly. Make America great again. You're damn right, Mr. President. Now, I think we're still waiting on Donald Trump to make a statement, but I guess the question would, let's put a poll out here for y'all. I'm curious on what you think. Would this qualify as cheating? Joe Biden dropping out, is this cheating? The reason why I say this is because you're 100 days out, you're the nominee, you have the delegates attached to you, plus 14 million votes, but yet they're basically just going to cancel people's votes. So is that cheating? I don't know. A lot of you are saying yes already. It's quick. I don't know. I haven't thought about it enough. Maybe it is. Maybe it is. But again, the breaking news here is Joe Biden is out. Man, they were spot on Sunday, weren't they? He really did. Yeah, Dizzy, we read the receipts. The receipt was Joe Biden's signature on a piece of paper that was written out saying he's out. Yeah, he's dropping out of the race, yes, and as Snarf said, he's still president. But look, if he can't sit there and if he's not qualified to be running for president again, why should he be president now? And it's like Twitter is just blowing up right now. I can't even load anything. Mind you, I understand this is repetitive, but we said this was going to happen. I mean, the news cycle, if you think about this, has been insane, right? So you had Donald Trump destroy Joe Biden in a debate. In a span of 20 minutes, the Democrat Party was in a frenzy, blamed it on a cold. Then they switched it to a cold and his travel was just too much for the guy. And then they switched it from a cold and the travel was too much to it was just a bad night. And then the Democrat Party didn't get behind the guy and wanted him to drop out, to then that whole news cycle happening. And then it was transitioned to the media wanting to remove Joe Biden from office. And then Donald Trump has an assassination attempt on him. That takes place all along with the Democrat Party and all their lefty progressives coming out and saying, oh, it was staged, it wasn't real, to then speculations of talks behind the scenes with Joe Biden and the Democrat Party, specifically Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi, to do secretive polling to figure out if Kamala Harris would poll better than Joe and Joe couldn't win the race or the election, to now having speculation for 3 weeks, of which we know for 5 days, that Joe Biden was going to drop out today on Sunday, to him actually dropping out, to then transition tomorrow through Wednesday into the Secret Service hearings through Congress, into seeing if Kamala Harris is going to be having anybody competing against her, to then having the Democrats scramble to have a nominee off of whatever the hell that means, to pick who's actually going to be their nominee, after just nulling and voiding 14 million votes, of which had delegates attached to the previous nominee, to potentially going to Kamala Harris, who could be the new nominee, or Gavin Newsom or Hillary Clinton or somebody else to then having a debate against Donald Trump and the new nominee versus the VP Vance versus whoever the vice president's going to be for the new nominee to then going into the election. Like, bro, you couldn't make this up. You literally could not make this up. Who could have thought that we would be here? I mean, it had to happen now, right? I mean, it did. We're rounding out. It's going into August. I mean, you're going to see some, you know, like that movie, Back to the Future, where Doc goes, when this baby hits 88 miles an hour, you're going to see some serious shit. Well, when this baby hits after today, boy, oh boy, we're going to see some serious shit here in the next 2 weeks, because that's all the time they have. I say this, and I'm dead serious on this. They have to get the ballots printed and sent out in the matter of about 4 weeks here. So there is a huge thing going on, and yeah, a complete cluster bleep. Jimmy said it perfectly. A complete cluster bleep. And we'll have to see what comes of it. Fox News is breaking here. And again, we don't know who is going to be. I'm guessing Harris. They got to get behind somebody quick. I mean, Harris is the most logical person. This is a strange script. Yeah, right, Pat. Very, very strange script. Gab 1776, good to see you. We all called this correct. COVID my ass. Neil said it would be like August, September. oh, I think Gabby is Neil's wife. I think that's who that is. Look, I think I said, when did I said it was going to be probably closer to August. I didn't think it would take place in September because that's too late. But I would have speculated probably later this month, August. Who was it? It was like Phil or somebody said the 25th. So that was the earliest one I think we saw was the 25th. I think it was Phil. I forget the name. I apologize, but I hope they don't cheat again. Dizzy, everybody thinks this is cheating though. Where's my poll at? 87% of you say that this is in fact cheating. And I don't know the legality of all this, you guys. I really don't. Every state is different. So I think that's going to be the big question is, he can drop out, but what do you do with those votes and delegates that are already attached to him? Robert Kennedy doing a live statement at 5 p.m. He could go up against Kamala Harris, and I don't know. Thing is, where does all the money that was raised, where does that all go? I think that's why Joe Biden backed Harris, and I think that donor money goes to Harris. Don't quote me on that, Pat, but I believe that is what happens. Please don't quote me on that. Just an average Joe like all of you. Man, this is freaking crazy news. I mean, again, it's crazy. We knew it was going to happen. And Bill said it correct here, actually. This is a very good take. He said, none of this happens without an early debate, which the Biden team asked for. It obviously ended in a disaster, but there were early signs like declining the Super Bowl interview and public gaffes, which become increasingly common. I mean, again, he has never stood on the podium and actually done a press briefing. So it makes a great point here. Charlie Kirk says, reminder, every time the Democrats say our democracy, they really mean our oligarchy. Today is further proof, and that is absolutely correct. Liz Wheeler of The Blaze said the reason Joe Biden dropped out of the presidential race is so the Democrats can cheat. With Biden a win, even with cheating, was no longer believable. Now they'll trot out a charismatic, young, moderate candidate so they can cheat. She's not moderate, by the way. I'm telling you, somebody from the state of California, she is as far left as you can get, folks. Mark my words. I mean, if she wasn't good enough to be the candidate then, who the heck knows? And then we told them you can vote to pick who our nominee is. That's a freaking... Again, and then we told them you can vote to pick who our nominee is. The Obamas were behind this, and the Clintons probably. We got the Trump war room. Kamala Harris helped raise money for a far-left organization that bailed a rioter who shot at police out of jail. Biden drops out of the 2024 race. There's a piece there from Fox News. Man, this is crazy. So, Dizzy, here was the actual receipts itself that we went through as a community here. We read the whole thing. It's just really... What gets me on this whole thing was the first two paragraphs were talking about how great everything was. But then he goes on to say, well, I'm dropping out. It's a constant theme with this Democrat Party that they'll sit there and say how great everything is, which is lying. But then they transition into saying that they're going to sit there and replace a candidate. I just don't understand it. I really don't get it. Maybe some of you guys do, but I certainly don't. Mizzy says, saw last night a Fox News article talking about Hillary possibly being Kamala's VP. There's a take. That's not bad. That's not a bad take. I believe that is the plan, and that they will run on it being two women to make new historic milestone reached. I mean, there were people that voted for Barack Obama just because he was black, right? I mean, it'd be insane to say that wasn't the case. But that is a great take, actually, Mizzy, is putting Hillary as a VP. We'll have to see. Look, as somebody that loves politics, you guys have to understand this is extremely exciting to me. You see me get frustrated at things that specifically affect people, like illegal immigration, the debt ceiling, the budget, things like that. Those are my two number one issues, number one and number two. So when I see people being killed by an illegal immigrant, it gets me riled up. But most of all, I find politics entertainment. It's as good as a movie for me. I find it comedy. So if I wouldn't put this in necessarily, sometimes I guess it is a horror film, right? I would put it in the genre of adventure comedy if you were to take it from my viewpoint. I find it it's so movie-esque, Hollywood-esque. You couldn't write this stuff, and we're all living in it together. Dizzy with the $10. Dizzy's always supporting the show. Dizzy, are you killing it in life or something, my brother? You're always taken care of. Coffee on me, Brad. Thanks on that. Man, thank you so much, dude. Jeez. We'll give her a shout out tomorrow too. Thank you, Dizzy. And you gave me a reminder here. Karen, I want to give a huge shout out to Karen for the donation. She went through our website and donated. I don't know if I'm allowed to even say the amount, but Karen, thank you so much. Karen, since it doesn't show up in the chat, I wanted to make sure we give a shout out to her. Can we all give a shout out to Karen in the chat? We'll also give a shout out tomorrow. Made a nice donation to the show. It keeps the lights on here, just like Dizzy did, just like a lot of you have done in the past. I just want to give her a shout out since it's not going to show up in here. She went through our website. The website gives us 100% of the proceeds. And so we got all of that money compared to YouTube takes like 30%. Rumble, I think, takes like 10 to 20 or something like that. So I wanted to give Karen a shout out. Shout out to Karen. Just a lovely email back. What a wonderful family she has, and a family of patriots. So couldn't be more appreciative than you guys giving your hard-earned money, like Dizzy and others and all the members we have here. So thank you guys. You guys know I'm really appreciative of it. You guys work freaking hard for that, and you throw it into a channel like this. So thank you so much. We're still going through, so if you guys want to stick around, we'll go a little bit longer here. Again, this is just breaking news, so I think a lot of people are just trying to process this, and I'm going to have to be doing a lot of reading tonight for tomorrow's show prep. And look, this is kind of going into a little bit of tomorrow's show. This is what it's going to be about. Joe Biden dropping out and making sure that we give you guys all the latest and greatest headlines. So again, you're going to kind of see us regurgitating some of this stuff. You're more or less seeing a real-time process of what I do doing show prep. Devil says he ain't... Let me zoom in on this. I cannot see this. There we go. Okay. He ain't gone yet. Don't get too excited. The fix is in. Wonder who will slide in. Of course, he'll pardon himself and Hunter. Yeah, we'll have to see what he does with Hunter. That is a great point. Correct. He's not good. Look, he said in the I don't want to call it an article. He said in the letter himself that he wasn't going to drop out, that he was going to fill out his duties. When I say drop out, he's dropping out of the race. I think that's going to stand. He already announced it. To go wish-washy, I understand he's already been wish-washy, right? Up until like 24 hours ago, they were literally saying he's running for re-election till like today, going, oh, I'm done. So, mind you, he said that he was going to drop out. Only way that he was going to drop out was if he can have his doctor attach a medical condition to him. So we'll see if any of that comes out. Got to dip out early the rest of the day. Hey, thank you, David. I appreciate it. Thanks for stopping by, man. We do appreciate it here. And we're just hanging out. This isn't like an emergency emergency get together. Prayers for Joe Biden, who probably just found out he dropped out and endorsed Kamala Harris. There's a take from Savannah Hernandez. I'm gonna retweet that. Who probably just found out endorsed Kamala Harris after waking up from his afternoon nap. Nice job, Savannah, freak. Let's see some from prominent conservatives here and what they had to say about all this. So here's Ben Shapiro's take. Biden is out. Let's go ahead and actually watch this together. This is immediate reaction.
Alrighty, folks, so breaking news, huge news. Joe Biden is out. He has now announced he is out. I was doubtful, I'll be honest with you, because he's a very, very stubborn man, and he does not like being pushed out. But with the new polls that have emerged over the weekend showing him down 7 in Michigan, showing him down...
Big Weave, thank you so much for the $5. Love this community, Brad. You're the best. You guys are the best, and you're damn right this community is the best. And that was the purpose of, one of the many reasons of creating this channel, was to have a community like this of patriots and conservatives, and heck, even independents, like-minded people. Even if there's Democrats in here, they're always welcome, unless they're not trolling us. But thank you so much, man. You're keeping the lights on here for us. I really do appreciate that. I'm gonna give you a salute, brother. You and Dizzy we'll get 2 salutes. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. Your hard-earned money going to a patriot channel like ours. Thank you. You're actually helping us grow here, really.
Nationally, widely, probably going to lose the Electoral College by 100 votes, losing Virginia, losing maybe Minnesota, competitive in New Jersey. Apparently, he had no other choice. The donors came to him, the Obamas came to him, everybody came to him, and he is out a little bit earlier today, just a few minutes ago. He released a statement via Twitter, which, again, demonstrates where things are at. You would figure that he would do a sort of farewell press conference. He is not retiring from the presidency itself. He is only saying that he is not going to run, which leaves open a massive question as to why exactly he is qualified to continue running the country right now, but he is not qualified to continue running for the nomination of the Democratic Party. Here is the letter that he just wrote. Quote, "My fellow Americans, over the past 3.5 years, we've made great progress as a nation. Today, America has the strongest economy in the world. We've made historic investments in rebuilding our nation and lowering prescription drug costs for seniors and in expanding affordable health care to a record number of Americans. We've provided critically needed care to 1 million veterans exposed to toxic substances, passed the first gun safety law in 30 years.
If you guys weren't aware, I am a huge Ben Shapiro fan. I've been watching Ben longer than a lot of people have. I'll give you a perspective on this. I was watching Ben since the beginning. And what I mean by that is there was so little of us in the live chat, kind of like we have here, except there was less people. There were so little people in the live chat during his original podcast that when he did the mailbag every Friday, almost every Friday, my questions would be answered by him during the live show. I have all his books. I've read almost all his books multiple times. I know his ideology pretty much like the back of my hand. I'm a huge, huge fan of Ben. He's one of my main guys.
Appointed the first African-American woman to the Supreme Court and passed the most significant climate legislation in the history of the world. America has never been better positioned to lead than we are today, which of course, none of that is true, which is why he has a 32% approval rating, which is really why he's leaving. Let's be real about this. He's not leaving because he's senile. He's leaving because he's losing. He continues, quote, "I know none of this could have been done without you."
Jennifer with the $4.99. Thank you so much, Jen. I appreciate it. A salute. Not only the $4.99, but also a longtime member here of the Bald Brad Show. Look at that badge. Not many people have the shield, Jen. Not many people have that shield. When you see a shield, that means that person has been a longtime member of the Bald Brad Show and supporter. Thank you, Jennifer. That is a patriot right there. Appreciate it.
The American people. Together, we overcame a once-in-a-century pandemic and the worst economic crisis since the Great Depression. We've protected and preserved our democracy. We've revitalized and strengthened our allies around the world. It has been the greatest honor of my life to serve as your president, and while it has been my intention to seek re-election, I believe it is in the best interest of my party and the country for me to stand down and to focus solely on fulfilling my duties as president for the remainder of my term. I will speak to the nation later this week in more detail about my decision. For now, let me express my deepest gratitude to all those who have worked so hard to see me re-elected. I want to thank Vice President Kamala Harris for being an extraordinary partner in all this work, and let me express my heartfelt appreciation to the American people for the faith and trust you have placed in me. I believe today what I always have. There's nothing America can't do. When we do it together, we just have to remember we are the United States of America. Anyway. So, he's out. Well, there are 2 things that letter does not say. 1, I'm throwing all of my delegates to Kamala Harris. He does not say that. He does not say Kamala Harris will make a fine nominee for our party, and she should be the person who picks up the mantle. He does not, in fact, pass the torch to his vice president. The only thing he says is it's my honor to serve with Kamala Harris, but he doesn't say anything beyond that. That is a glaring omission. The other thing that it pretty clearly says is that he is going to stay as president of the United States, which opens up an entire line of attack on anyone, including Kamala Harris, who doesn't push him out right now. Let's say that you're Kamala Harris, and let's say that you're consolidating support inside the Democratic Party, which behind the scenes, apparently, you have been doing. There are a bunch of factors militating in favor of her becoming the new nominee. One of them is that Joe Biden's campaign, the Biden-Harris campaign, has like $100 million in the bank. That money basically gets locked up unless Harris is the actual nominee who can pick up the baton. Not only that, Kamala Harris also has the support of people like James Clyburn. Obviously, a big part of the Democratic voter base are Black Americans. Black Americans supposedly like Kamala Harris. I'm not sure where that data is coming from, but that is seen as a sort of insuperable obstacle for Democrats in nominating anyone else. Also, it creates a line of continuity, but that is actually the problem for the Democrats. A line of continuity with Joe Biden is really bad for them. All the attacks that have been leveraged against Joe Biden can now be leveraged against Kamala Harris. And because he's not stepping down from the presidency, the question is going to be to Kamala Harris, you know he's too senile to be president of the United States. Why don't you 25th Amendment him? Why don't you push him out? And she won't. She won't. Because if she tried to, then he would fight back on that, because that would be a full disgrace. He'd be the first president ever to have the 25th Amendment invoked on him if that were going to be a thing that actually happens. She's not going to do that. So she's now stuck between a rock and a hard place if she's the nominee. On the one hand, she doesn't want to be answerable for everything that Biden is doing. On the other hand, she can't actually control the government. She can't actually control anything. And so the way things currently sit, she is an extraordinarily vulnerable candidate. Now, there have been a lot of talks about whether there's an open convention, whether there's some sort of shortened primary.
That's what we were talking about, is an open convention, a short primary, to where it be her up on the podium along with a couple other people. You guys mentioned RFK is going to have something coming out around 5 p.m. later. That's what Ben's going to speak about here.
Primary process where the Democrats all go at it. The problem is, who is ready to pick up the mantle? It can't be Gavin Newsom. Like, if you're Gavin Newsom, do you want in on this race? In this vulnerable position, is this where you want to be? If you're Gretchen Whitmer, maybe you want in because you think you'll do better in Michigan than Joe Biden. But are you going to be able to consolidate the party that quickly? And if it consolidates behind Kamala, do you want to be Kamala Harris's VP? Is that something Josh Shapiro is going to give up on? Or are you going to wait this one out, watch Kamala Harris go down in flames, and then bank on 2028? This is a total mess for the Democratic Party. It also, on the Republican side of the aisle, throws everything into complete conflict and turmoil, obviously, because the reality is that the entire Republican campaign has been centered for the past month and a half, 2 months, on Joe Biden's senility. That is no longer going to be the chief issue on the ballot. Now, there will be a secondary issue, which is the fact you can't trust Democrats who lied about this thing for years on end. That will be a very serious issue going forward. It will also be a very serious issue, obviously, when it comes to Kamala Harris, who's sitting in the meetings with him and should have known all of this. But the entire playbook is going to have to be shifted now to a new candidate. If it's Kamala, then there's plenty to attack her on. Again, go watch our series, Scamala. It is the three.
He is correct. There's a lot of, I mean, you're basically still running against Joe Biden. The only narrative point that you don't have is the person you're talking to isn't with it. But here's the thing. Donald Trump didn't mention that. I mean, he kind of alluded to it when he said during one point of the debate, I don't even know what you just said, and I'm not sure you do either. That's really the only time during that whole debate that he really pointed out to the fact that Joe Biden's brain doesn't work. So yeah, I agree with Ben here. Behind closed doors, you know, Donald Trump Jr., Eric Trump, us here on the channel, a lot of other outlets are commenting that Joe Biden's brain doesn't work. Everybody sees it. And that now we can't really use it as a talking point. But we can, as he mentioned, is that Kamala Harris basically kept this whole thing undercover for 3.5 years and played it like Joe was fine. And we have nothing but videotape of her saying so. Democrats will still get behind her, I would imagine. But we're going to see here during this week what the hell happens. I mean, this is an exciting time to be in politics, and I'm glad it's happening over summer because it allows us to get more streams in for all of you. Newsom isn't he a pedo? That what everyone has been saying. I don't know about that. There's a great point here by Devil's Advocate, something I didn't talk about. I don't talk about because I don't like the gossip and almost like the Hollywood drama of politics. And what I'm referring to here is he said, me, not a big fan of Ben since what he did to Candace Owens. Here's my take. As I mentioned, I've been following Ben since the beginning. Even before he even started Daily Wire, I was following Ben. You could say like I'm an extreme fanboy of him. I'm not saying he's perfect, okay? He has done some things that maybe people don't agree with, like for Candace Owens, for example. Here's the thing. When she was hired by the Daily Wire, I was shocked when she was hired. She is not a fit for the Daily Wire at all. So that right off the bat, I remember even telling my wife, my girlfriend at the time, going, why would they hire her? She doesn't fit in with that group at all. She's a different style of politics, a different style of the right than what the Daily Wire is. Daily Wire is more conservative. Candace Owens, I think, is more emotional side of politics, a little bit more in your face. I'm not against Candace, but I also think there was a lot of liability in terms of what Candace was doing, and let me explain. Candace was going along a path very similar to what you kind of saw Tucker Carlson do on Fox News, where you were saying things about an individual that could lead to extreme lawsuits. Case in point, kind of what she was referring to, one of the people, was it France or something like that? Like he was a dude dressed as a woman or something like that. I don't follow Candace too much, but there's liability behind it. And again, quite frankly, we don't know anything behind the scenes. Nobody knows. And it was a business transaction that didn't work out. And I called it a transaction because it was a negotiation. She wasn't a fit. And so they said, hey, go on your merry way. And she's going to be okay. And she's going to be fine. But I understand why people maybe don't like Ben. But again, we don't really know what took place behind the scenes. And neither do I. So I don't really pick sides. You got to think of this as a movie or a game. The left thought Trump would be not the, You're not wrong, Parker. Jennifer with the $1.99. Thank you so much, Jen. I appreciate that. Jen, is that your second donation? It is your second one. Thank you. Thank you, Jen. I appreciate that. Make sure we give that a heart. Thank you so much. It's so kind of you. Make sure we go to Rumble and I didn't miss anybody. Railroad says, as in Michelle, God, you guys. Yeah, if you're going to say certain things, head over to Rumble. It's a little bit safer for y'all. Again, I don't think Michelle is going to run. She hates politics. I think it's going to be Kamala Harris. I don't think anybody else. The question is, who's going to be her VP? I mean, they're scrambling behind closed doors here. I don't think the Trump team really has much to do in terms of a shift in their talking points. I mean, really, the talking point is now just transitioning whatever they said about Joe into whatever they said about Kamala Harris. I mean, if anything, they have more ammo on Kamala Harris because she's the one that was running, or at least in part, running the state of California. You have a retweet here. The Democrat Party told its voters that they could not be trusted to select a nominee when they effectively shut down their primary process. Correct. The Democrats straight up looked at all their base and gave them the double middle finger and says, you don't know what the hell you're talking about. Really wild stuff. Now they're installing a new nominee. American voters happen to like democracy. I predict some backlash. I don't predict any backlash from the Democrat Party. No, I actually don't. I don't think there's going to be any backlash. God, can you imagine placing your vote in Joe Biden? They said, nope, sorry, it's not going to happen. Give you a perspective, you guys. Put the shoe on the other foot. We're all behind Trump, right? We're all behind Donald Trump for the most part. Okay, for the most part. We're all, for the most part, going to vote for the guy in 2024 here in the matter of like 3 months. Imagine if the Republican Party said, nope, I don't think that's going to happen. We're going to force this guy to drop out. Now, I don't think Donald Trump would do that, but you understand the point I'm trying to make here, is that would be similar to them saying, hey, we're all going to vote for it. Sorry, nope, no Trumpy Trump. Sorry, not for you guys. Do you think you'd be a little bit pissed here? Probably. But the Democrats are a little bit more moldable, right? They want a DEI hire in the House. See how little one little update can wreck things. Yeah, maybe. Isn't this crazy, you guys, that we're going through this all together? Democracy in action, yeah, or their lack of, right? So here's the poll, or at least one. This one comes from Real Clear Politics, and kind of wondering where on earth you could locate a presidential candidate on such short notice who is even more unpopular than Joe Biden or Donald Trump. Let's see if this is going to load for me. Looks like we're having issues with the loading. Let me see if I can get this up for y'all. 1 second. I apologize here. A little bit slow. I don't know why. I have freaking phenomenal internet. 6, so it's not going to show for me. Oh, well. We'll see if we could get it back up a little bit later. There was a poll from Real Clear Politics that basically showed Donald Trump beating Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, and Kamala Harris was polling worse than Joe Biden. So I'm really curious to see. I'm really curious, and I wouldn't put him past him to do this, is to elicit a poll behind the scenes that was implementing very specific biases in their questions to the people that they're asking in terms of if Kamala Harris is a better pick than Joe Biden, to then elicit basically a biased poll that they can then show to Joe Biden that ultimately he is not fit, that he doesn't have the votes and all these other things. So I wouldn't put him past him to do this. I said by the 25th. Yeah, there you go, Philip. Yeah, Philip, we called you out. Yeah, we said that. So you're close. You're closer than all of us. Remember us pinning it? We gave you the shout out, my friend. You were the closest. Bill was the closest. Don't worry, Phil. I got you. I even said, I think it was Phil in the chat that said the 25th. I knew somebody said the 25th. I wasn't sure if I had it right, but it looks like we did. I'm a little bit more senile than, I'm a little bit more sane than Joe Biden. I'm a little bit there, not by much. I thought there'd be a little bit more spicy comments over here. Liberty, sometimes there is. Remember, this is more of a, this stream was not planned, right? So during our normal show, sometimes Rumble gets a little bit spicy. So if you're going to say something that's off the walls, yeah, head over to Rumble. It's more acceptable over there. His report also details the biggest threats on the horizon in 2024, including the disruption of global elections and the exploitation of generative AI. I mean, oh my God, what's you guys? I don't know if you knew this. Why am I blanking on the area? There's a huge disruption. It starts with a B. I'm totally blanking. That has gone dark. Like 170 million people have gone dark. Oh my God, I can't believe I'm blanking. Not Bosnia. Is it Beirut? Has a total government shutdown. Like, turn the internet off. No news media going out. I think it's Beirut. I think. Anyways, if you guys haven't checked that out, that's some crazy stuff. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. But anyways, yeah, check that out. And that's that's going crazy over there. I mean, I think the world is falling apart. I'm trying to pull up an explainer here. I think might be interesting. Let's break this down together. So Biden will step aside in the 2024 race. What happens next? This comes from Newsmax, folks. So Joe Biden said on Sunday, obviously, that he's going to withdraw. Biden endorsed Vice President Kamala Harris, which Ben kind of missed out in his reaction, and maybe he just didn't have all the information at the time. Before Biden's decision was made, Reuters spoke to a senior fellow. God, my subscription has expired. I don't know what that was. Okay. So what happens now? Biden has spent the last several months accruing 4,000 Democratic delegates by winning primary elections. Those delegates would normally vote for him to be the party's official presidential nominee at the Democratic National Convention that is set to take place in the middle of August, towards the end of August, 19th through the 22nd. So that's how quickly they basically got to get this going. They got like 3 weeks. But the rules do not bind or force them to do so. Delegates can vote with their conscience, which means they could throw their vote to someone else. By stepping aside, Biden is effectively releasing his delegates, potentially sparking competition among other Democratic candidates to become their nominee. But here's the thing. I wonder if those delegates can still stick with Joe Biden, which would not give enough delegates maybe to Kamala Harris. This is some... So I said we weren't going to go live for the DNC. Maybe we're going to. Several candidates could step in the fray. You got Vice President Kamala Harris. As many of you mentioned, you got Gavin Newsom, you got Whitmer, you got Andy Beshear, Pritzker. So kind of some no-namers. I don't think Whitmer would really step into the race. It doesn't seem really... I think the only person really kind of on the ticket here would be Harris. How will a nominee be chosen? So there's a free-for-all. According to Ballotpedia, they are expected to be 4,600 delegates in 2024, including 3,900 pledged delegates and 739 so-called super delegates. In order to secure the nomination, a candidate would need to get a majority, which that's why I brought up the fact of, hey, if Joe Biden already has them, are they still beholden? I guess beholden, not the best word. Do they have to release themselves from Joe, or can they still stick with Joe, since technically that's what the democracy has enlisted? That's what I'm trying to get at. Are there going to be delegates that say, no, I'm sorry, there's 14 million votes that said this is who I need to be voting for? Does that person take out their conscience and do something else. I don't know. Meaning, are they going to go for Kamala, even though that's not what the people wanted? It could take several rounds of voting for someone to get a majority and become the nominee. The last brokered convention when Democrats failed to nominate a candidate was in 1952. What happens to Biden's cash? That was Pat's question. The Biden-Harris campaign had $91 million in the bank. Remember, they froze $90 million of it. But experts on the campaign finance law disagree on how readily the money could change hands. The money could be transferred over to her if she is on the ticket, and that's kind of what Ben was spotlighting. So Lincoln Bale says, see how he reported January 8i CrowdStrike report from a few months ago, 2024 CrowdStrike global threat report from breakout to breach it under 3 minutes, cloud infrastructure. Yeah, there's a lot going on, brother. Absolutely. This place, the world's in chaos. I mean, when is the world not in chaos, really, to be quite frank? There's always crap going on. There are some truths that need to be tempered. In some aspect, I agree with you, Dizzy, but for the ones that they lied to, how do they get them back in? So Dizzy said, Joe will sell votes or delegates. Who the heck knows what's going to happen? A lot of speculation here from the Bald Brad crowd, which I appreciate and love. It keeps things kind of fun and interesting. Who really knows what's going to happen? I wanted to give a shout out to this if anybody's interested here. And I saw this. It's Kingston Comics. There's this hardcover book, and they're actually not letting me let you guys click on it. Kingston Comics has these biblically accurate comics, and I think they're a lot of fun. So if anybody's into, again, it's Sunday. I wanted to give them an ad read, but it's not allowing me to get you guys a QR code. They have this really great thing it's like the Bible, but it's in comic book form, and the kids love that. But it's not gonna work for me. So isn't that just a lovely thing? That's A-okay. What is the convention going to look like now? That's well, Jen, are you talking about the convention, or are you talking about the well, I guess you are talking about the open convention. I was thinking the Democrat convention, the actual convention that they basically do the votes for, that we just saw from the RNC, right? That first day, the day one, was boring as hell because we were watching basically people vote on behalf, saying, oh yeah, enough delegates are for Donald Trump. So that's kind of what that article was specifying, was when it actually gets to the real DNC, do they have enough? And really, you should know that you're going to have enough before you actually throw out the convention. But it's already a set date, right? 19th to the 22nd. I don't imagine them moving that. I'm sure they have a location already in contract, already paid for. So this is some wild shit, man. It's just kind of interesting, too, to see kind of everybody scrambling in the news media to get ahead of this, going like, well, what's going to happen next? Like, what could happen? White House aides admit they found out first on X. Wow. So this comes from Politico. God. So you guys weren't far off. I mean, instead of like Joe Biden coming out from a nap, it was his aides showing up to work. So Biden's announcement stunned White House and campaign aides, who up until this afternoon were insisting he'd stay in the race. We're all finding out by tweet, said one Dem. None of us understand what's happening. I don't know how much I believe that, because again, in order for us, like a small channel like ours, but also the media outlets, the people behind the scenes, to know that it was going to happen today, I think a lot of people speculated. I kind of think this is BS. I think this is a way for the campaign to sit there and not throw shade on themselves, because up until literally today, this morning, as well as last night, they were saying that, oh, he's going to stay in the election. He's going to stay in the race. So I think this is just a way for them to soften the brunt of themselves. The other question that I have, and I think many of you might have as well, is who's going to run her campaign? I bring this up because we had rumors swirling Thursday, Friday, maybe even as of yesterday too, that Obama's wanted Biden to drop out, and the faster that he drops out, the more that Harris or somebody else can utilize Obama's campaign team to run the race for Harris or whoever. So there's speculation that Obama obviously has his hands in it. I think everybody agrees with that one, but can be using his own campaign team to help Harris or whoever is going to be the front runner of the Democrat Party. And so from what I was hearing, they already have people ready to go. Like they are full-fledged here, ready now, like spot on. Let's do this thing. So I'm trying to see if we can get up-to-date stuff. So, I mean, there's just so much content already coming out about Kamala Harris and how terrible she is at her job. This comes from Fox News right here. This was like the breaking aspect of it.
Okay, we've got huge breaking news right now on Twitter. Apparently, President Biden is saying that he will step aside as a candidate. This is just coming across on social media right now, breaking news, and will address the country later this week about next steps. He intends to fulfill the remainder of his term.
That's why he has to do it later this week, as rather than tomorrow, is because he needs to. Nobody knows what's going to happen, just like all of us, right? All of you are asking, like, what's going to happen next? Like, what's going to go on here? Well, he doesn't know. I mean, like many of you are joking around, like Lincoln, and we also saw it from Savannah Hernandez of Turning Point USA, is he probably just found out himself. And I think a great point by Jennifer here. I'm anxiously waiting for Karine Jean-Pierre's next press conference. Me too. We'll be live for it, Jen. You know it. God, I don't know how we're going to do all these lives because, again, I want to be live for the congressional hearing for the Secret Service. I'm being told there is a congressional hearing for sure tomorrow. We might be live while it's happening doing our show. What I plan on doing, if that's the case, is going live for our normal show, talking a lot about this, and then transitioning into the Secret Service announcement or congressional hearing right thereafter. So we'll see. Thanks for your work, Dizzy. No, thanks for hanging out with us, man. And always thank you for your contributions to the show, dude. It doesn't go unrecognized, all you fine patriots in the chat. I see and always in my thoughts and prayers for how generous you guys are to me and how caring you guys are. So I always love hanging out with you. And that's why when I go live, I know you guys are going to be here, and it makes it a lot more fun. Because it's like, for me, it's like hanging out with friends. You know what I mean? You know your friends are going to show up and have a good time. Except the difference is you guys are just listening to me ramble and rant. It's almost one-sided, but that's why I try to give you guys shout-outs and read your comments to make it a little bit more two-sided, more conversational in some way, shape, or form. So Vivek Ramaswamy reacts to Biden dropping out of the race. This was by Benny Johnson. It looks like they were both tuning in their vehicles. Let's roll it.
That's what. So please,
one of them.
I just want to set up here. You are the most right man in America right now. You are the most correct man in the country.
I wish it weren't so. I mean, I said this in the Republican debate stage a year ago. The media, that was the NBC debate. They roasted me. They called me a conspiracy theorist. And as you know, Ben, even on a darker note, I have worried for a long time. I said
maybe
this
Butch
in the campaign trail in Iowa. You were right there with me. It was uncomfortable, even for a lot of Republicans, when I worried they weren't going to let Donald Trump get to that nomination last week. But I think divine providence guided him there nonetheless. And we're in a strong position now. I think the reality is we got to avoid making the mistake of thinking that we're up against a candidate here. We're not. We're up against a machine. And the more we see it that way, the more we understand what's actually going on. I actually just had.
Let me just pause this 1 second. I just want to confirm this real quick. Yeah.
A good conversation with President Trump. I think his head's in the right place. I think the right answer is it doesn't matter who they put up, right? We stand for our own vision of who we are and what we stand for, irrespective of the machine we're up against. Maybe it's Kamala. Maybe it's not. I personally, you're not going to hear me come out instantly just attacking Kamala. I've been plenty critical of her. I just don't think that's the right strategy for us. I think it looks unnecessarily insecure to say that, oh, now that it's not Biden, it's Kamala. It's a machine anyway. And regardless of the machine's activity, we have our own vision. And President Trump, and I think the convention overall, did an outstanding job of laying that out for the country. So we're coming off of, I think, a position where we're insulated from this a little bit. Complacency isn't an option. I did see a lot of people last week celebrating like this thing is over. In some ways, this thing hasn't even begun. But we're in our strongest position if we don't just fret and say, oh, my God, it's not Biden. Now let's train the fire on Kamala. It's almost you don't need to, right? This woman, I've never run for president before. I made it to the Iowa caucus. I got 8%. She was, a U.S. senator with a pedigree track headed there. She didn't even make it to the Iowa caucus of her own party's primary nomination process. So people don't inherently like her. I would say forget training the criticism on Kamala Harris or anything else. Forget that. I think that's the wrong. It's a knee-jerk temptation. It's the wrong way to go. Focus more on the ideals of our founding and why Donald Trump is going to be the person who's going to do that. He picked a great vice president last week, a good friend of mine. I think we're in a strong position to focus on our own vision, and that's what I'd encourage us to do.
I love Vivek. Again, I'm hoping he's part of at least some cabinet seat for the Trump administration. Look, I'd be kind of shocked if he wasn't. This guy, I would go as far to say, is probably one of the top 3 guys that have done more work for Donald Trump than a lot of other people have. This dude at the RNC was live from morning till evening doing meeting, podcast, speech after speech. This guy was going from room to room. He was live the entire time. And he still is doing work on behalf of Donald Trump and the Republican Party. I'm a Vivek bro. I love the man. You got Elon Musk 1 minute ago saying leaders should post directly, not hand the role to intermediaries. That is what works best. Mistakes will be made, but that's what proves it's real. People want authenticity. So running an X account is now a more important job than running media relations to get the word out there. And I think that is correct. And that's why I decided to make that leap over to Twitter as well, is because there's more free speech. We're not being censored over there. We are growing in numbers as well. And so we don't have a lot. We got 181, but we are growing over on Twitter, more of a platform that allows free speech. And that's why we transitioned over to Rumble as well, being our main hub, is because I think we all see the foozery that's going on with YouTube. And it's only going to happen more, folks. Facebook is already sitting there censoring places like the Daily Wire, Ben Shapiro, Steven Crowder. YouTube has already deplatformed many conservatives, one of which was Dan Bongino. That's why Dan Bongino only streams over at Rumble, is because YouTube banned the guy. So that's why we need to make sure that we're other places, and other places are going to take care of us, because I'm risking a lot. I know it might not seem so, but in terms of a career and everything, I am risking a lot by even having a channel, because in this day and age, you can't have a separation between your career and what you do on the outside world, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? And that's why I'm not so much for people like you see libs at TikTok going in, oh, this person should be removed because of what they said about Donald Trump's assassination. There is a lot of risk that goes involved in this, meaning that this could turn into something where this is my job because I don't have a job, because you'd be let go or something like that for your speech. So that's why I always appreciate you guys getting behind me and always watching and contributing, because it gives me that sense of security in that we can do this. We can really make this something to where if I didn't have work, we could do this, and then I'd find like a stable part-time job somewhere else or something like that. So there's a lot of risk involved in me doing this, but that's what you got to do if you really believe in your convictions, if you really believe in your ideals and not just the founding, but also how the process is supposed to work, then that's the type of leap that you would make. You know what I mean? So I think that gives a little bit more assurance to the viewer that if I'm doing this, then we're doing this. But we'll see the more news coming out. So I guess this just happened as well. Not even Biden-Harris campaign co-chair Chris Coons will give Kamala his full endorsement. Wow.
Senator, at this hour, we know that President Biden has endorsed his vice president to be the Democratic nominee. We have also heard from the Clintons in a joint statement saying they would like Kamala Harris to be the Democratic nominee. Do you expect there to be any challenge to the vice president?
Well, today I think we should focus on the legacy of Joe Biden as president. I do recognize the urgency of the moment. As we head towards our convention in Chicago in August, I think the most important thing we can do is come together. And Vice President Harris has an incredible legacy of success and accomplishment as a senator and vice president. I do not expect a serious challenge to her nomination, but let's let that work itself out in the.
Man, he doesn't even endorse. Isn't that crazy? Oh, Lordy. Again, she is not too different than Joe Biden. So here she is. She says, no question, I'm in favor of banning fracking. If you remember on the campaign trail, this was a talking point of the Biden campaign of, hey, we want to remove and dissolve fossil fuels. We want electric to work. Electric's not going to work for a long time. At some point it will, but right now it's not it. You're going to collapse an economy. You're going to make everything more expensive, which, by the way, that's why everything's more expensive. So here she is.
There's no question I'm in favor of banning fracking. So, yeah,
And starting with what we can do on day one around public lands, right? And then there has to be legislation. But yes, and this is something I've taken on in California. I have a history of working on this issue. And to your point, we have to just acknowledge that the residual impact of fracking is enormous in terms of the impact on the health and safety of communities.
Oh, you're going to see so many clips coming out from this lady now. So many clips. Reading what you guys are saying here in the chat. Mail-in ballots. Yep, those will be sent out end of August, early September. Early mail-in. Alex Jones for UN ambassador. Could you imagine? Brad 2028. No way. No way. Not running for. Never would run for political office. Can you imagine the fabrication of dirt they do on people? That's the one thing I don't like about politics is, especially with the deep state, all this movement in terms of AI, augmenting people's voices, saying they said things when they never did. That's always my fear, is the progression that we have in AI. And somebody kind of commented on this already, the generative AI, I think it was Lincoln, is you're kind of moving in the realm of fabricating stories about an individual that they never did in the first place. I'm talking from like photos to voice to actual video. We've seen like the spot on video they're making of people. Mind you, if somebody's already on camera, like I am, talking for well over an hour each and every day, you have their voice, not to mention their face, not to mention everything else. You know, we're getting in the realm at some point in politics of some really destructive and gross stuff happening. And that's why I think staying out of that realm, no way, shape, or form. Just the amount of lies that people come out against people. Look, if they were willing to do that to Donald Trump, right? The PP hoax, the tape, everything they did to this guy, I don't want any part of that. You know what I mean? The fabricated lies, the Russia hoax, the FBI literally paid off a guy. One dude saying something, that's what streamlined that whole thing. So that's why I don't like it. It's really destructive, and people don't wait for the evidence to come out. They just automatically attribute that to that individual. And if they're willing to do it to Donald Trump, they're willing to do it to some no-name guy, even like me, even if I was to run for office. And, it's something you don't want to put your family through. Because then you got to work with your family. Oh, it's not real. It's not true. But they're like, oh, well, I saw your face. I saw your voice. I heard your voice. All these things. It's not, all that stuff's crazy. So Ducey as press secretary. I don't think it'll be Ducey. I don't know who it's going to be for his press secretary. But look, he already set a standard. Trump already set a standard for Kayleigh McEnany. So maybe she'll come back. That'd be kind of dope. But I forgot who said it. I really like Vivek as a Secretary of State, man. That was a good point from one of the viewers. So we'll see. I think we'll end the stream there. That was kind of the big news of the day that I wanted to present to all of you. I wanted to make sure we're here for this historic moment. Somebody said Carrie Lake for press secretary. That would be a firecracker. But with that being said, folks, make sure you drop us a comment when the video ends. Give us a like. Follow us on Twitter. If you haven't already, make sure you head over to baldbradstore.com. We do have a store full of merch. I saw that Patrick and Shib and a few others bought some shirts and some mugs. If you haven't headed over to baldbradstore.com, the stuff is over there. And also, we have a book, Trojan Horse, How the Left is Destroying America, folks. Great book, timely book. A lot of you are really enjoying it. If you bought a copy, head over to Amazon, leave us a 5-star review. Some of you already did. I really appreciate that. And folks, we'll be back here bright and early, 7 a.m., to talk about the latest headlines on Joe Biden dropping out, as well as other news. Wow. And I'll make sure that I bring you the latest and greatest, folks. That being said, I will see you tomorrow here on the Will Brad Show. See you later, folks.